Welcome to my messy studio, everyone. My name is Mark, and I'm an artist and an art professor. And in this video, I'm going to demonstrate 4 different sketching techniques, all using just a few basic supplies: white watercolor paper and waterproof black, brown, and white inks. Let's get started. But before I do, let me just briefly tell you about my newest streaming course titled Drawing Textures and Details in Pen and Ink. This is a follow-up to my Fundamentals of Cross-Hatching workshop and provides essential information, since most of the things you draw will not be perfectly white, perfectly smooth, or perfectly matte, or perfectly opaque. Learning how to deal with complex surfaces is therefore crucial to anyone who wants to draw landscape, or people, or animals, or really just about anything. To make a purchase, please visit my Vimeo page, the link to which I'll leave below. Okay, back to the regularly scheduled programming. Some time ago, I made a video that demonstrated a traditional technique that uses brown toned paper and black, brown, and white inks to create the impression of a full color drawing. This is a very pretty way of working that all of you should know about. But there are many other ways of combining these materials together, and I'm going to show you 4 of them now. So without further ado, here is the first, a very simple technique that was widely used by the old masters. This technique has a long history, since brown and black were basically the only 2 colors of ink available for centuries, with brown pigment made from the soot created from the burning of wood, and black pigment derived from the soot created from the burning of bones. Both these materials were mixed with shellac to give them waterproof properties. In this technique, you start by putting down brown ink with a pen. Any brown ink will do here, but try to choose something dark so that it has enough contrast not to get lost when washes are placed over it. Once dry, you go over the entire drawing with washes of diluted black ink. The key here is to not make these washes so dark that the lines get lost, but again, if your brown is dark enough, that won't be a problem. In most areas, the white of the paper serves as the highlights, but in those small areas, such as the reflection in the eye and highlights in the air, you can sneak in some white ink applied either with a brush or a pen. The advantage of this technique is color variety. Drawings done in all black have a tendency to be cold and graphic, while drawings done entirely in brown have warmth, but the uniformity of color can make them monotonous. Having both colors gives the drawing visual interest and has the added benefit in figure drawing. Skin tones are warm in color, and the shadows on skin tends to be brown. Using brown ink gives the shadows a sense that you're dealing with warm, living skin and prevents your drawing from feeling harsh and mechanical. This technique uses both brown and black line work, brown for the skin and black for everything else. While the first technique adds a touch of color variation everywhere, in this technique we pick and choose where to put our brown and black inks, giving the drawing color specificity. And though there are only 2 colors being used, this can give the drawing a very rich feel, while still using a very simple method. Like the first technique, I really love this for figure and costume drawing, since the black and brown inks do a great job creating distinctions between skin, hair, and clothing. This is a great technique when you don't have a lot of time but still want that additional visual interest. Working with 2 ink colors is one of my favorite things to do, and I'll have to make a video specifically on this topic. There's something about using such a limited palette that triggers the imagination and makes the viewer think that they're looking at way more colors than there actually are, even if you're using the 2 inks separately without mixing or overlapping them. The next technique takes advantage of the ink's waterproof properties, allowing you to wash over the entire drawing with a tone. The advantage of creating your own tone, as opposed to just working on toned paper, is that you have perfect control over the color, and that the gentle unevenness of the transparent ink wash adds color complexity and movement to the drawing. In this case, I washed over the drawing with a mid-toned dilution of brown ink and used brown for my line work. This method is open to a lot of variation depending on the color and value of your initial wash. A lighter wash would have been an effective option as well, but I wanted the tone to be dark enough so that the white ink showed well against it. Using white ink for the lights is very fun and effective, giving your drawing an appealing texture and glow. The key here is to not allow the brown and white inks to overlap, and to allow the brown paper to show through as much as possible whenever you see a mid-tone. Otherwise, if the inks mix, either physically or overlap, it can create a different kind of brown, which makes the drawing patchy and uneven looking. This technique is one of my favorites and was widely used in Germany during the Renaissance by such artists as Albrecht Dürer and Hans Baldung Grein. It's a very fun way to draw and a great way of introducing variety to your sketchbook practice. The last and most complex technique also relies on a dark tone, this time with diluted black ink. The lines are put in with brown ink, which will give my shadows some vibrancy and warmth. Then the majority of the drawing is done with white mixed with brown ink, which, against the cool gray tone, creates a warm skin tone. This, of all the techniques, is capable of creating a drawing that looks like it's in full color. But you have to take your time with it, work slowly, and make sure to introduce as much color variety as possible by adding more brown to the reddish areas of the face, the nose, the cheeks, etc., to give the impression that the skin tone is not uniform in color, but rather has a variety of warm and cool tones. Like the previous technique, there are a number of variations here. For example, I could start with a brown wash instead of black, or even a mixture of brown and black washes. Regardless of how it's done, this is a great technique for longer studies, and again, will give you lovely color complexity. Here are the 4 techniques together. As you can see, they're very different from each other, each suitable for an entirely different kind of work. As an instructor, I've seen a lot of sketchbooks in my time, and one thing that puzzles me is the propensity of students, and even some professional artists, to use the same boring 2B graphite pencil over and over. If you keep a sketchbook for the sole purpose of developing concepts and compositions for your larger work, then I understand the impulse not to muck about with different materials. But for me, part of the purpose, and frankly joy, of keeping a sketchbook is experimentation with different media, trying out new methods and materials. As you can see, not having a large range of materials at hand is not an excuse, since even with a very limited number of supplies, many of which you probably already have lying around, there's a huge range of technical possibilities. And it makes your sketchbooking that much more fun to do, and way more fun to look at. I hope you found this short lesson useful, and if you did, please subscribe and consider becoming a member of the channel. Thanks for watching, and hope to see you back in my messy studio very soon. Bye for now.